Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene.
And I'm John Popko from Alt 92.1, and I'm the Saturday night host of Alt Natives on Alt 92.1.
And we're here with Brianna Collins, the vocalist and keyboardist of Scranton indie rock band Tiger's Jaw, who are playing an acoustic show coming up this Friday, May 31st at Karl Hall in Wilkes-Barre. So we're going to be talking about the band's rise from NEPA to national fame, tour stories from around the world, women in music, signing with Black Cement Records and working with producer Will Yip, songwriting and the evolution of their lineup and sound, and much, much more. So please stay tuned for the full hour. We would love to hear from you guys. If you guys have any questions or comments for Brianna or us, or you want to add to our conversation, we're probably going to be getting a little nostalgic for a little while and then moving into some of the stuff that they're doing now. So any of those types of things from the Cafe Metro days on, we would love to hear from you, and if you've ever caught these guys live or anything like that. So please leave those down below. We will get to them later in the show. But first...
The show's tomorrow.
Well, later in this show.
Right, no, but like you said, it's this Friday. That's already tomorrow.
Yeah, it's already tomorrow.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, it's a weird adjustment because we were doing Wednesdays for a while, and now the studio moved us to Thursdays. So
And
it's
the
like,
holiday was kind of pushed things back. So.
Yeah, that's true. With the Memorial
Short
Day
week,
and
yeah.
everything. It's crazy. So let's get started early on Friday, because those are all founders, I believe.
They are.
From Beer Boys.
Yeah.
So Beer Boys gives us these crowlers to drink every week, and they are huge. And Founders is known for their high ABV. So we'll try not to crack open too many of these things and get too crazy. But what do we have this week?
All right, we have the Founders Breakfast Stout, which I think is like a killer. The Founders All Day IPA, and the Founders Blushing Monk. I think they're all very high ABVs.
We will let you choose. Which one do you?
I'll try the Blushing Monk.
All right.
I thought I took you for more of a breakfast stout.
I have no
I don't
idea
know why.
what
I just thought
any of these.
I know you had no idea what they were, but I just figured that was the one you'd go to. I was wrong.
It's a weird.
You never swing on the first pitch.
Well, we'll get
do
to
you?
know you as we go along.
I don't know, do you?
Maybe you should.
Depends, I guess, on what the pitch is like.
Oh boy.
All right. So we want to talk about Beer Boys for a second. Their glass
Thank
nights
you.
are on Wednesdays, and they have a half-price happy hour every night of the week, 8 till midnight on Fridays and Saturdays, and 9 to 11 every other night of the week. So be sure to stop down for their glass nights on Wednesdays or live entertainment on the weekends at 10 p.m., and there's never a cover. So it's, I think we've had this one before.
It's good.
Way back when.
It's like,
You've had
I
it
like a
before?
sour, no, I just like a sour beer, and it's pretty tart.
Yeah, that's very
The
tart.
Blushing was like, I like more of a berry.
Mm-hmm.
Breakfast, I think of like eggs.
Yeah, I don't know
where does
exactly
your
what's
mind go?
breakfasty
Pancakes?
about it, other than it's very heavy.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, maybe that's where it comes from. But it doesn't taste anything
Beer
like
you have for
breakfast.
breakfast. Or during breakfast.
Your shower beer.
Can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning, right? That's what they say, right? I wouldn't know.
No, not you.
I don't have a problem yet.
Oh, that's very good. Strong, that's got that almost a wine sort of taste to it.
Yeah.
It's good.
We also want to plug the V-Spot, one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania with live entertainment every night of the week. This week they have Flatland Ruckus, bringing outlaw country to the bar on Friday. Militia will be playing the best metal songs of the last 30 years with The Haunting on Saturday. And DJ Huff is hosting karaoke on Sunday. And we only have 3 weeks left of NEPA Scene Rising Talent, our open mic at the V-Spot. And this week was kind of a little crazy because we had the tornado at the same time that we were trying to do this mic. So a lot of people who were going to show up kind of turned around and went back home, thankfully, because there were flash floods and stuff all over the place. But we still had a couple of cool people. Jeremy Burke came. And this comedian, first time he ever went, never went to our mic before, never heard of it. And he won the audience vote. So it just goes to show you, anybody can win, anybody can walk in if they have talent and walk away with $50 and a place in the finals. So you only have 3 more chances to do that, so make sure you stop down in the next 3 weeks. It looks like we have some comments already. Like I said, make sure you leave those comments down below, but we'll get to them. But let's start with, now you got into local music and kind of going to shows at a pretty young age.
Yeah, first show was in the 7th grade.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So what was it that drew you to that world in general?
I mean, I've always loved music. I've always loved singing. I was like even like a Spice Girls fanatic, NSYNC, and those like pop bands.
Yeah.
But I think just the friends I made in middle school kind of solidified a love for like alternative music. You know, your friend that makes you a mix, and it's like this formative thing where you're like, yes, this is who I'm going to be. Like, I love this. This is what resonates with me. And I grew up in Hamlin and went to Western Wayne, and I had heard that one of my friend's older brother's bands or something was playing at a church in Hamlin, and I was like, my mom might let me go to this. And they used to happen every year, I think, and usually it was someone's like senior project show. It was called the
Yeah.
Mighty John Show, and if I remember correctly, the Cretins played, which was Greg Barnett from the Menzingers' old band. But yeah, it was like the first time I ever crowd surfed. It was just like, it was a ska show essentially, which, I don't think you can come up in this area. I mean, Scranton especially, and not have like loved ska at some point.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that kind of was like my entry into music and like loving going to shows, and I think my mom and dad understanding that like this is an interest I would be very passionate about, and yeah.
That's cool, because not all parents are cool about that kind of stuff.
No, and I mean they music fans themselves, but not like we never we love Fleetwood Mac or like Phil Collins or something, but I've told her brothers, and they were never really into going to concerts like this. They go to see like Aerosmith on the Mountain or whatever, but
Right.
yeah.
The shows that everybody goes to see.
Yeah, like Dave Matthews Band, like,
Yeah.
etc. But yeah.
Well, what do you think is special about the music coming out of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area? You guys, like you, the Menzingers, Title Fight, kind of broke out on the national stage around the same time. You guys were kind of growing up together in a lot of ways. So, I remember that being a very exciting time when you guys were all just kind of starting out.
I think I just think of what the scene was at the time, and it was just all the people that we were just all friends, and we were all just so supportive of each other doing anything and playing a million of the same lineup shows together just in Scranton or Wilkes-Barre, wherever you could get a show. And then making friends, like I know Title Fight were friends with Balance and Composure, and like we met them through Title Fight, and then we started playing Doylestown and just getting out like in little ways like that. But I don't know, I think just there was like such a camaraderie and like a belief in what we were doing, and like coming from this area, and I mean it's like blue collar, like you got to work for what you want, and
Right.
Yeah, we all just were really excited to be doing it. And I know Ben Walsh especially, like he when I became friends with him, like joining Tiger's Jaw, it was like he was helping book shows, do sound at Test Pattern or whatever, and like we were like 15, 16. So
Right.
it's like started really young, just getting the word out on MySpace about like a local show, or going to every show and it not mattering if the lineup were like a million different genres of bands on one lineup. Like, we'd play the same show as like Dead Radical, which was like just a straight up hardcore band. And yeah, just I think supporting each other and knowing that like you have to like work hard to get what you want, and still like it being so fun that like it doesn't feel like work. I mean, it still doesn't.
Right.
Is Balance and Composure still around?
No, they actually just played their last shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a bummer.
Yeah, they're an amazing
They're really
band.
good.
What do you think it is that fans and critics too have connected to your music? What do you think it is about it that has resonated with people?
I mean, I think coming from, like, I didn't start writing music for Tiger's Jaw until, like, recently, so I just was in the band, but also just such a fan of the band, and I feel like the honesty of like, and like my being able to like relate to the lyrics and like the music, like I loved it. Like I was just so excited to be playing music that I really loved. But I think it's, equal amounts of like luck and like, because I mean there are a million amazing bands that have come out of this area, and like not every band gets to go on beyond this.
Right.
So I feel like it's like hard work, talent, and then like a little bit of luck,
Yeah.
because you really can't like predict any of it.
Especially now, I think, with the internet. Like,
Yeah.
we were talking before, and we'll get into that probably, but someone reached out to you on Instagram, and it just so happens they're going to open the show for you guys tomorrow night. It's just, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be able to put yourself out there and like network. I think that that's like really important. It's something that like I have a hard time doing sometimes because I feel like shy or like, but Ben is very good at it, and I'm learning. I'm trying. So.
Well, that's why it's good to have a band that everybody
Yeah, I mean, there are
balances each
multiple
other
people
out.
where like, yeah, like I'll do the art, and then he'll like, in the older days, like get like book our shows or something. Like it all works out when you're all pitching in like a different thing that the band needs in order to like be the band that you want it to be.
Well, one of the things everybody talks about in interviews, so I'll kind of bypass that a little bit, is, the original lineup of the band, then it was you and Ben for a little while, then it transitioned to where you guys are now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is as soon as you guys were putting out the new album, you had a new photo with 4 people in it, but you never hear about these other guys. Who are these people? Why did they get chosen to be in the band?
I mean, it was definitely not necessarily like, even though, the guys that were playing with us have been playing with us for years, it's like, it was a huge change when 3 people left, because that was how the band had been for like 7, 5, however many, a long time, especially at that point.
Sure.
When you're in your early 20s, that's like a huge chunk of time. But I think it just was like, it just came to a place where they were in the band. It wasn't even like, obviously there was a discussion that was like, yeah, like, do you want to do this? Because it's a commitment, especially now, it's not the same as when you're touring or playing shows and you're, living with your mom and dad or like in college. It's like you really are sacrificing being home and having like a very steady job, because it's unpredictable. I mean, who knows? I hope it lasts forever. Like, I would love to do this for the rest of my life, but you can't bank on it. Like, you can really like work to try to make it happen, but like I said, like so much of it is unpredictable. But they were just down, and it just felt right. It just like kind of locked in. So there are 4 of us now: me, Ben, Colin Gorman, who's from 44, and our friend Teddy Roberts, who's from a town outside of Detroit, is our drummer. Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
Well, I've known Colin for probably like 11 or 12 years, like coming to shows down here and just making friends with people that were from like the Wilkes-Barre area. And then Teddy we had met through our friend Luke, who was playing bass at the time. That he lived in Detroit at the time. We needed a drummer, because at that point we had just different drummers fill in when they could, and Teddy played for another band called Fireworks, who are not really a band anymore, from Detroit. They're very good. Another band that we grew up playing shows with, but Teddy was like a newer drummer for them. And so it just started with him filling in when he could. And then Fireworks kind of slowed down, and that was like 5 years ago now. Time flies a lot faster when you're a little older, but yeah.
That's for sure.
It only gets faster, unfortunately.
Oh, don't tell me that.
It does. It's one thing your parents always told you that you never believed. And
Yeah, they're
that's
like,
the truth.
slow down, appreciate being a kid, and it's like, damn, being an adult is like,
Sucks.
it's heavy.
It sucks.
Yeah,
Could be a bit of a slog sometimes.
yeah, but it's not. I mean, that's just it's part of life. Like, you
Yeah.
just gotta.
Well, I have a son now, so I'm trying to like view life again through his eyes,
Yeah.
which is cool, because I've become an old disgruntled asshole.
You're curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. But he's definitely made me see or helped me see a different perspective on things, which is nice, because I needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, I love getting excited about newer bands or any bands just like coming up or doing anything now, because it's like I want the scene to like thrive and be alive and be reminiscent of like what it was like for me, because like going to Scranton was crazy. It was like, I'm from Hamlin, a very small town, and like Scranton was like the big city, which is incredible to say now. And I love Scranton. I have such an affinity for it. It's like that. I mean, Ben is from Scranton proper, but it's like where we say we're from, because that's like the heart of where this band started. So, but yeah, I love seeing other bands, like kids booking shows. Like I love going to shows that, you know, people are doing around here.
Yeah, it's so cool that you're sitting here with us, because like Rich and I, we share that same love, you know, with what Rich does, and then with what I do, like, you know, working in the radio station and having my show on Saturday nights. Like, I love it. I don't get paid to do it at all. Like, I just love doing it, and it just, you know, I can't wait for the next band to kind of, you know, make it, so to speak. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be the cheerleaders, you know, because there's so many people, you know, there's such a cynical side to our area, and people who are down on it all the time, and down on how things are, and, you know, the potholes and jobs and blah, 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 and whatever, and you want to be positive about something, and I think that's, like, the best thing to be positive about. Is
and
like,
I mean, it's like the other side of it, like you said, it's something to, like, believe in and really, like, it's like such a, not a distraction, but just, like, a really positive, creative outlet that everyone could be a part of, whether you're in a band, booking the show, attending the show. Like, all of those parts need to exist for it to survive. So, like, every single person that is a part of that is important.
Yeah, there's a kid that does some shows at Karl Hall. I can't remember his name. I apologize. Barnstorm Booking.
oh, yes.
What's his name? Shit. But you can tell he just loves doing it. He's a young kid.
Yeah.
And he's all about it, which is great.
And hungry for it, because a lot of times you lose that after a while, you know, but he's still pretty hungry for it.
It's really cool to see that, because we were at his show. He helped book the Send Request and that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
we were at, and just, you can tell he's just like totally 100% in, and it doesn't matter if he makes $1 or not. He just loves doing it.
Yeah.
What the hell's his name?
You'll think of
It's
it.
gonna drive me nuts. I'm sorry.
Well, you know,
I'm terrible with names and faces, so.
He was an intern for us too. Like, I just,
Yeah.
oh, God damn.
well, you've had the opportunity to tour around the world and visit a lot of different places and play for a lot of different kinds of audiences. Are there any that stick out to you as your favorite memories, or some of the stories you like to tell people when they ask you for a good story?
Oh, geez. I mean, it's hard to necessarily pinpoint one specific thing. I think, too, like, I don't want to, like, say, like, negative parts about touring, but it is like a routine, like a job would be, where you show up to the city, and then you're in the city, but you need to be at the venue and soundcheck or whatever, and sometimes a lot of the magic can get lost when you're, like, in that routine a lot.
Sure.
But I think because we're really lucky and we get to go places that are, like, I never thought I'd get to go in my life, like Japan or Australia, like those, and even okay, so we just played Slam Dunk Fest in England.
Yeah, that's huge.
And we played on the same stage as Saves the Day and the Ghetto Kids, and that was, like, meeting, like, your idols, and then they literally watched our set and, like, were like, you guys were amazing. And to have just, like, this full circle moment of these bands that you looked up to also being excited about what you're doing as, like, the younger band, you know, doing what they were doing 10 years ago or whatever. And during the Menzinger set, there was a double rainbow, because they played too. So it just felt this, like this crazy, like, I felt like, I don't know, like, centered, like, this is crazy that this is my life. Like, you never could have told me when I was 14 that, like, I'd join a band and I get to travel the world and meet my idols and, like, have them like my band, the band I'm in, or, like, getting a hold of Koala Bear, or, like, being in Japan and having people that speak fucking Japanese sing along to the words of, like, your band. Like, it's just, like, it's very cool. Like, those things to me are, like, the moments where I truly can, like, kind of step outside of what I'm doing and look at it and be like, I'm so lucky. Because I feel that generally, I really do, like, because it's crazy. But like I said, like, sometimes you get lost in the routine, and to have those, like, holy shit moments.
Yeah.
And it does happen, like, kind of frequently, because, like, every next step we take, it's kind of like, holy shit, like, how do we get here? You know?
Another thing I've noticed too about like people like you in these successful bands, you guys all stay so humble. Like it's just, it's
Which is important.
It's just amazing. Like you've never ran into like any assholes that have been successful. Like you guys, the Menzingers.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
just,
I think too, like, our friends bands that have come up and are, like, the, you know, the international touring acts now, it's like, I love that we're all still friends. Like, we all still are just so stoked for each other to have any kind of success or do anything, because it's still, like, we're still the same kids that we were. I mean, we're not, but, like, you know, that, like, feeling is still there, I think, for all of us, where we're all just still so excited to and supportive of each other.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Because I think if you can't, like, realize how lucky you are, like, and you become jaded, and, like, why ruin such a special thing for yourself by, like, taking it for granted?
Well, you know, I've always said, you know, we've interviewed a lot of local bands on the show, and you know, they talk about, you know, some people, you know, are there to cause drama or whatever, and those people never succeed. You know, at the end of the day, if you're
Yeah.
putting everybody else down and you're trying to make people feel bad and you're trying to, you know, boost your own ego or whatever, those people end up flopping sooner or later. You know, they don't go anywhere. You know, it's the ones that try to lift everybody up. I feel like they're the more successful. Well, you've toured with some big names like, you know, Newfound Glory and Yellow Card and stuff like that. Who are some of your favorite bands that you've been able to tour with or, you know, share the stage with?
Manchester Orchestra was probably one of the craziest ones for me. Newfound Glory too. I mean, I still remember almost every day of junior year after I got my license, I'd put on one of their records and just, like, sing along the entire way to school. And, like, or I remember buying Yellow Card CD in Hollister at the Steamtown Mall, which I did tell Ryan Key, and he was, I mean, I don't know why I told him, because it's literally like, I was 12, and how old are you? Like, but I was just so excited, because it was so full circle crazy to, like, be there. And yeah, I don't know, I think just the fact that any of those bands that have literally gone on to do such amazing things and are still great bands, like, are asking us to go out on the road with them. Like, we played a show in London with the Get Up Kids, and that was insane. Like, just the fact that they wanted us to play, or, you know. But yeah, Manchester Orchestra, I think, was, like, top tier, like, nuts, because that was a band that I loved. So.
And nice guys.
And still love, yes, such nice guys. They were a band that we actually got to hang out with, because usually bigger bands are on buses, and it was the first tour
Right.
that we had a bandwagon, which is kind of like a tiny, it's like a box truck with bunks in it. It's like,
Okay.
you know, it's a touring vehicle that's like a step up from a van in that someone else drives you. And it just was like such a crazy thing for us to not have to, you know, drive ourselves and, like, sleep in hotel rooms, but it also allowed us to be on the same schedule as them, where you get to the city at, like, noon, and then you have all day in the city. It's nice. I feel like you really get to, like, actually go out and explore and, like, get to know these places across the country that, you know, you might not have gotten to otherwise. Or, like, you're not rushing because it takes 10 hours to drive there from the last city you were in. So we actually got to really spend time with them, which was really crazy, but really cool because they were so nice. Like, they're all great guys.
So is it weird to go from that to like to come back here and just kind of chill out and
No,
not?
I mean, I love living here. I feel like going away so much makes you appreciate, like, how beautiful it is here, and, like, so many of my best friends live here, and my family still lives here, and getting to come back and, like, take that all in and, like, do normal shit, like go grocery shopping and, you know, have a part-time job, or I just finished school, but, like, just do things in, like, a different, like, wavelength, rather than, like, you're in a van all day and, like,
Right.
you have to eat out every single meal. And I don't know, I think that it's nice to come home and have it be that shift. I think it makes you know, it's always like grass is greener. So
Right.
when you're on tour, you miss that. And then like by the, you know, if we're home for a while, like I obviously miss playing shows. And the way that we've been doing things lately, it's been kind of nice to have time off and then go, and then time off and then go, rather than go, time off for like 6 months, you know, just having more balance between the two. Because it is like two worlds. Like,
Right.
it's definitely, and I mean, I like that I live here and it's not like nobody gives a shit. You know, I go to karaoke and nobody knows who I am, and that's fine with me.
Right.
But if they do, it's always like a nice thing, because like they know this is like my home, so it's never like strange, I think.
Do you have to mentally prepare to go back out on the road?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it's back to back. I think because you end up missing home, and you know, things happen when you're gone. Like my brother had a baby. Well, his wife my sister-in-law had a baby. They had a baby together. And we left like 5 days after he was born, and I didn't see him for like 3 months. And like just now, like I haven't seen him in a month because we've been doing things, and you know, it's not.
And 3 months in baby
They
months
grow
is a
so much, and
long
even like
time,
yeah, and so just missing things like that, or like missing like my mom's birthday, or things that like you just wish you could teleport home for those things, and you know, come back, then go back to tour. It's like that's like the one shift between being a musician and touring, or having like a more typical 9-to-5 job, is like you have the stability of a routine where work is so separate from home but exists in the same space. Whereas like my work is separate from my home life, but it's like I have to go away to work for a month, you know, a month to 8 weeks, 2 months at a time. And then I come back, and then it's just like, it does feel kind of like jarring sometimes when like you just get home and then you have to leave again, you know. I don't know, but I don't want to complain, because I literally like,
No,
I
you're not
love
complaining
it,
at
but
all. No, it's part of the.
it is,
gig.
yeah. It's just like I said, finding the balance that works for you, because I feel like a lot of creative people, they deal with like mental health issues too, and those types of things are exacerbated when you're on tour because you are gone from so many of your comforts.
Right.
Like that's the thing that I think lacks on tour a lot, is having like your comforts, like being able to like just go to your best friend's house and like talk to them for like an hour
I never
and
really
have it
thought
be in
about that.
person, or like, you know, I don't know.
I never
like,
thought about that. You know, what you just said. It's mental health is definitely
yeah.
affected
Mm-hmm.
by that lifestyle.
Yeah, if you deal with anxiety, and then you have nowhere to, you're stuck in a green room that you're sharing with 4 other bands, and there's no personal space. It's just, I mean, you have to kind of figure out a way to compartmentalize or deal with that in a way that you wouldn't maybe have to at home. So I think just like it's really about adapting it in a way that you can do it, you know.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that or think about it. They think
Yeah.
about these bands, they're going out, playing shows, rock stars, drinking, doing whatever, partying. But it's more than just that.
Yeah, because you're with, I mean, and that's why like we're so lucky. Like we as a band get along so well. You're trapped with them for a month straight, like
Sure.
no breaks. Like you work and like live with them 24 hours a day, you know, except for like maybe moments where you can find alone time. But there's never like a day where you could just like lay down and watch Netflix all day and just kind of zone out and do your own thing. So, yeah, it is all about like who you're with too,
Yeah.
and having them be like understanding and supportive people, like the best friend on tour that you can go to if you're having a tough time, and go get dinner alone with them or something. And yeah.
Now, you went to school for photography and art
Yeah.
education and stuff. Do you do anything outside of the band creatively that you do to maybe just to occupy your time, or maybe use a different creative outlet?
I do. I do art, general like design work for just I love to do it in general, but lately Adam McElwee at Wicked Face Springs Eternal, I do a lot of his artwork, which is great for me. Like I love his stuff, and obviously he was a founding member of Tiger's Jaw, so it's
Sure.
cool. Like we're still great friends, and like to have that, and like I feel like his stuff is just so different aesthetically, and like just the headspace that it is. It's like a little bit darker, And I like where that, like, pushing myself to do something that's really different than, like, what I would be doing for Tiger's Jaw. I freelance edit for a photographer, Pete Czechia, who is an artist but also works for the Philadelphia Orchestra. So I do a lot of editing of concerts. I've never been to an orchestra concert, but I've edited probably like thousands of them. And then I recently I did my first art lesson where I had a student come, and I were meeting like every week for an hour. She's super awesome, like so excited about art, and felt like she wanted more than what she was maybe getting at her high school. And like that to me is really cool because that exercises the part of my brain that I literally I just finished my master's in art education like 2.5 weeks ago. So it's cool to like do something that I'm also qualified to do that, but like it's something I love to do. Like I love teaching art just as much as I love doing the band. So it's cool to like have that also be part of my life. And I'm always like taking photos. I mean, I'd love to one day like do a book or a show or something and push it that way. But I think one of the great things about the band is that I need structure to make art. I've never been someone that's just like an artist that like I need to draw, I need to paint. Like it's something I love to do, but I do so much better when I have structure, like an assignment or something that like kind of zones me in and gives it like purpose. So that's kind of another reason why I love being in Tiger's Jaw is like I do all of the art that I can, and if I'm not doing the art, I'm like acting as like creative director and like, you know, choosing artists that we want to work with for merch designs or whatever else. So that's kind of my art circle.
That makes sense. That's a lot of the reason why I like, as a writer, to do journalism, because it's always deadlines and okay, this is coming up, I've got to promote this, so I have this amount of time to do it in and that kind of thing, and it gives you a deadline. If you just if you just say, oh, just write this, I'm like, I'll put it off till
I'm such a
tomorrow,
procrastinator. Even now, like we're working on our next record, and like Ben and I write very differently in general, but like he's just so good with like just doing it as we go, like as time has existed. Like it's almost been 2 years since our last record,
right.
Whereas I'm like such a last minute, like, but it's the way my brain works. If I don't have like a specific deadline, and then even if I do, I'm always kind of down to the wire. I don't know if it's because I have like ADD, but it definitely like that's like my work flow is like I need to kind of be like forced, and then my brain just turns on. Whereas some people don't do well under pressure at all, which I also completely understand. I kind of wish I was like that so that I would not be so stressed out. And I would get a lot more sleep closer to like the due dates of things. But
Right.
So I was in college. Like I would get stuff done the night before.
yeah,
I'd be up all night, but
Right.
it would
yeah,
get done.
it sucks.
It would probably take, you know, let's say it took 7 hours, but like, let's say you took, you know, over time, took 10, 15, whatever.
I really had to like adjust the way I worked when starting grad school, because I did it all online while we were touring, and you know, everything is due one day of the week, and you do one class at a time, so it is like more like you're able to really zone in on what you're learning about. But I found out fast that like it was more work than I could really comprehend. I was so used to like the things I was doing in undergrad, and like writing papers had never been hard, but like it just challenged me more than I thought that it would, and I had to really force myself to be like, all right, I need to do this on Monday, this on Tuesday, and set like my own due dates for stuff. Otherwise, like I'd like fall behind, and like I hate that feeling.
Right.
Because it's like it's not what I want to like do well, and like I don't have to go to grad school, like I'm paying for it because I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so just being like frustrated with that forced me to kind of like work a little bit more at a time. But like, you know, towards finals, it literally was like, shit, like I'm staying up all night for like the, you know, 3 days in a row to get a case study done or something. But yeah.
So when you're getting into the studio, do you have some stuff ready, or are you kind of writing in the studio? Or?
Well, with Spin, all of my songs were finished in the studio. None, like it was more like really rough demos, skeletons of ideas that were fully fleshed out kind of by the end of the 4 weeks. Like we did all of Ben's songs first, and then we did like pre-production, and like that gave me time to like really hash it out. And especially just being at the studio, it was kind of nice because like that's the space where like you're gonna make it.
Right.
So it just like, I was really I couldn't have any other distractions. I'm also someone that takes on like way more than I probably should. And like, my brother always said like, would you rather be really good at one thing or like pretty good at a lot of things? But I can't like not do a lot of things. So this time around, it's a lot different, especially because it's not just Ben and I. It's now me, Ben, Teddy, and Colin, and we've been getting together and demoing together, whereas like every other record, it's been like we show up at the studio and like I'll learn the songs there, or like we, for all, the records before Spin even, like we were all in high school and like college and like getting together, like half of us lived in Scranton, some of us lived in Philly, so we didn't really practice, so you'd show up and like I'd hear some of these songs for the first time and be like, holy shit, like this is awesome. But this is a lot more like we're all really kind of digesting these songs and like demoing and then listening to them again and then demoing again. And I feel like it's benefiting the songs to have more time. Because I feel like even with Spin, we recorded, and now like after playing them over and over again, like they kind of grew more. And I feel like we're giving the songs like that kind of time. I mean, Ben's songs, we're working on mine. But yeah, I think it's like going into it, it's like been a really different process than before, like really like taking more time because we have it, and yeah, it's been cool.
And you and Ben have mentioned that Will has always been a central part in the last couple of albums, and in terms of what does he add to the mix that makes you want to continue to work with him?
I mean, he's just like a wellspring of ideas. And Teddy, our drummer, they remind me of each other so much. Where like Teddy just can like come up with a million ideas, and Will is the same way, like making you think about a part you wrote but in a different way. And then everything we do, we always try it, even if it sounds crazy or I'm like, I will not like this, but sure, we'll do it. And then like sometimes you're like, shit, he was right. And I think like because we've been friends with him for so long, and we just have a really like good relationship outside of him being like an engineer or a producer. So it's like easy to work with him, and he's part of our family.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to like even take the songs that we have further with him. Like, he just has such creative ideas with like, oh, let's try it. Maybe if we like bump it a key, or like, I know for my songs, like he would challenge me and be like, what do you think about adding a bridge? And I'd be like, shit, like, we'll see. And then like it ends up being like the bridge on Sam Stone he helped me write. And like that, to me, like just like those little things that like push your ability as a songwriter further, especially like with Spin, I had never written songs before, so it was like a learning experience in itself, and like Will was just so supportive in that for me. So I'm excited to like get to do it again.
Are you in a different headspace than you were when you wrote Spin? Are you
Yes.
writing about different things now?
Yeah, I mean, the songs I wrote for Spin, like, I feel like I just took really specific ideas or concepts and, like, wrote about it. And, like, this time around, I've been just keeping, ever since Spin came out, ever since we recorded Spin, which came out 2 years ago, but we recorded it almost 3 years ago, and just keeping, like, a notes on my phone of, like, little thoughts or ideas. And, like, now I'm in the process of, like, writing them all in a notebook and, like, kind of putting things together. And, like, I might not even think about what I wrote the same way, but then like taking that idea and pushing it in a different direction or further. Like, I think just not limiting myself to being like, this happened, I'm gonna write about this. Because I've never felt like a strong writer per se anyway, like, even like telling stories and stuff, or like poetry. So in general, writing songs is like challenging for me, because it's so outside of my comfort zone, which is kind of crazy because this is my job. But I think that that's what makes it so fun and like really exciting now, to feel like I am a songwriter, like I've done it, and now I'm in like the second stage of like feeling a little bit more confident and like excited and knowing more specifically, I think, what I want my songs to sound like as a whole, whereas like last time they kind of just like happened, which was like a beautiful thing. But
Yeah.
and like I work a lot better collaboratively. I am in general a person that second guesses myself like a lot. You could ask all the boys on tour with me. I'm like, what shoes do I wear with this? And I'll like have one of each shoe on, But but just trying to feel more confident in myself and knowing that the people that I'm working with, I trust, and like I love their ideas and input too. So it's been like a different experience than it was for Spin already, but I think it's still reminiscent of like being really like nervous, excited in general, and also trying really hard not to like wait to the last minute, because
Right.
we have been working on at least 2 of my songs, but I want to have a couple more. So
Good balance on the album.
I think the wardrobe thing is just a female thing, though.
It might
it's
be.
absolutely not.
The whole shoes thing, yeah, it's definitely a.
I don't know. You
Alyssa,
never.
what do you think?
I mean, I'm not saying that females don't do it, but I know guys that do it too. I'm not the only one that needs a little like, yeah,
No.
go with that.
I'm not attacking females. I'm just saying it's just.
You feel really confident in your own wardrobe choices. You don't need.
I don't care.
Oh, there you
look
go.
at me.
Yeah, maybe that's a different, just a type of person where like
Yeah.
I just like to have that well-rounded like
Right.
thought. I don't know.
See, I wear a t-shirt and jeans every day, but I have like a million t-shirts, so that's really where the decision-making part comes in.
Which
It's just
one
like,
do you
yeah,
wear?
one of these like 500 shirts, which one am I
Well, you
gonna-
can just pick one. And it's fine.
Yeah, I could just pick one, but
Like, how much thought went into this? Like, what is it?
not much really. This is a Fire with Friends shirt.
Okay.
I was just like, we're talking about local music today.
Yeah.
I'll grab that. Not too much thought into it. Well, let's we'll spin on that topic a little bit. So I read and listen to a lot of band interviews, and the stories from women in the music industry are very different. Sometimes you have people saying that they've mostly had good experiences. Some people have faced a lot of sexism or barriers and stuff that maybe the average male wouldn't face. What has your experience been like?
I think it's shifted a lot in growing up. I think I had like I was very lucky to have such a positive experience in the scene that I grew up in, but I think I also had like blinders of excitement on, of just like loving everything that was going on, and maybe there were things happening that I wasn't as in tune with as I might be now, like, having, being almost 28 and like living life a little longer. But I definitely have experienced sexism. I've been like physically assaulted.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Just things that
about that.
they do happen to guys, but I think that it definitely, in my experience, the level at times can see a lot more targeted, I guess, towards women. And so yeah, I mean, it's hard not to feel like discouraged by that. And the thing that I never want to do is I never want a girl, a female, or anyone that identifies with me as a woman to like think that it's something that should discourage them from participating, because I think like in any space there's always that potential. I think
It doesn't matter what business, really.
exactly. And I think that there are so many positive things happening in the music scene and in our culture in general right now, bringing to light, like making it not as taboo of a conversation, because I think that was such a huge thing too, where like I was so afraid to be like, yeah, I've experienced sexism, because I never wanted to like, like, I don't know, like make a big noise about like something that happened to me, or like have so much attention on me because of that, because like that's not the point. Like the point being like what happened to you should be what is the emphasis. Like I remember when I was on stage and that guy tried to kiss me, it was like it just spiraled so fast into being like about me being like, well, I'm up there, you're up there, like you what do you expect? And it's just like, how is it turned into being about like who I am as a person and like those types of things, when it should be
It gets
about like
very
what
personal.
yeah. And I mean, it is something personal because it happened to me, but that made me not want to talk about it for a time, because I felt like I didn't want to have that negative attention, because there are always going to be the trolls and the people that are like going
Right.
to bring that out. And like that, like after going through something that like sucked to go through, it's like on top of that, now I have to deal with people on the internet saying anonymous things that like hurt my feelings even more.
Right.
But I think now I'm not afraid to talk about it, because it happened, like it's real, like it's something that I don't ever want to happen to someone else. So it needs to be addressed that, like, yeah, like you always have to be aware that, you know, things can happen, but like you also need to stick up for what you believe. And I believe that it's wrong to act that way. And yeah, I mean, it definitely is a thing, but I don't know. I also have had such amazing moments as a woman, like making music and feeling very like, I don't know, just like excited by the community of other women making music. And I mean, there's definitely like other things that are pointed, you know, I could touch on, like having bands that are like, oh, female fronted band. It's not something you would ever say. And it's something that we don't experience because I'm the only woman in our band. So we're not a female fronted band, you know, people would say that. But it's just like, and it's something that I used to say all the time. Like, I used to be like, oh, I love Haim because, like, it's just this, like, band of, like, this, like, girl band, like, and they all play their instruments and they're awesome. And it's like, I would never say that about a band of men. I think, you know, I'm saying it coming from a place of being, like, in awe and, like, relating to that.
Sure.
But still, it's like the terminology is, like, kind of problematic in general.
Yeah, it's dated, you know,
Yeah.
the way that we talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's hard because it's such a, you know, like a lot of industries, it's such a male-dominated industry a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think that there are so many women in bands or women behind the scenes too. I feel like there's like a lack of recognition for how many talented sound engineers or like merch managers, and the sexism that I've seen our sound engineer, who is a woman, and our merch manager, who is a woman, experience just because they are doing their jobs is like crazy to me. Like I almost benefit from being in the band because people know that I'm in the band,
Right.
which they don't always, but you know, more so than you know, seeing a house sound engineer like talk to our sound engineer like she doesn't know what she's doing when she's literally a skilled person doing this as her profession. Like that
Yeah.
sucks. Like and then you see them talk to another band on the tours sound engineer and they don't talk to them like that at all because they're a guy.
Yeah.
Like that sucks. But the thing that I love is seeing like our sound engineer be like, all right, dude, like you could talk to me like that, but I know what I'm doing. Can you please like help me with what I just asked you to help me with? And
Right.
I think kind of like the perseverance through it is like what makes it so fucking cool is like, you know, like you said, there's going to be sexism and things like that in jobs kind of wherever. But
Yeah.
I love in the music scene, like there is kind of like, I love the idea of like women supporting women and men supporting women too. And it being kind of like trying to make it more taboo to treat women like that than it is to like make it a taboo to talk about it happening to them.
Right. You want to call those people out and
Yeah.
make them feel like I'm an idiot for thinking that or
Yeah, or at
acting
least,
that
or
way.
at least, you know, it is such a cultural thing, and it might be something that is typical in the way that like their scene is or something, and like making them just open their eyes and see it maybe in a different way, and then learning from it. Like it doesn't have to be a shaming experience. It could all be a learning experience. So,
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, you get the people online who are like, oh, social justice warriors and all this other kind
Yeah.
of crap, and you kind of have to dismiss that because like in the Will Yip interview that I mentioned earlier, one of the things that struck me is that he was saying, you know, I've never thought about being, you know, an Asian American man, you know, working in this industry, but an Asian guy came up to me and at a show, and I think he said it might have
Yeah.
been at a Tiger's Jaw show, and he said, you know. It inspired me that you're doing this and you're so successful and people know who you are and they love what you do, that I want to do that too. And I feel like I can make it in this industry if you can make it in that industry. So, you know, people say, oh, that representation matters. That's bullshit and whatever. It really does.
It does. It really does.
Because it inspires people.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it, like, apart from my personal growth, like, it was experiences like that being, and thinking about if that did happen to me, like, if a girl does come up to me and be like, even apart from being a girl, like, being a keyboard player is very kind of atypical in, like, our scene, our genre
Sure.
of music, especially, like, you know, I'm, like, playing keyboard and, like, singing, like, lead vocals sometimes, and to hear someone be like, I never thought, like, you could be in, like, an alternative band and play piano, like a rock band and play piano, and
Yeah.
like that to me is cool too. And I think it is about representation. Like, you might not know it's possible until you see it done. And then I think about myself and like seeing bands like Paramore and being like, it's so fucking cool that like they're just a band and she's just in this band.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Although I'm sure you get like a lot of females in bands that are like, oh, do you guys sound like Paramore?
I mean, if we do, they probably haven't listened to Paramore or us.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
If they hear you're in a band, then
Yeah.
automatically they try to compare it to like the closest thing they could think of.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So what do you guys have planned for this acoustic show? Are you playing full band or is it just you and Ben?
It's just Ben and I. When we do acoustic stuff, we keep it pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
I have started playing keyboard at the acoustic shows, so it's that helps me because it's like my baby blanket of having something to do with my hands. There's nothing to me worse than just like sitting there not knowing what to do, like with myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just Ben and I, and we typically play. I mean, we haven't really talked about set list. Honestly, we usually do that like day of, unless we're doing like a crazy thing that we've never done before. But we always try to play something from every record. I think because like we're very lucky, we still love all of those records and the songs themselves, and I find when I go to see a band, like I love to see just like something from everything. Like even if I've never heard the record that they're playing it from, it's like
Right.
just. So if we do that, we'll definitely do some covers. We love a good cover. Clearly, we love karaoke.
Yes.
But yeah.
What did you guys play at the holiday show a couple years ago? It was like
We
it was
played
like Three Doors Down or something. I
Third
don't
Eye
know. Was it
Blind.
Third Eye Blind. That's
yeah,
what it was.
not
Yeah.
3 Doors Down.
I knew it was something with 3 in it.
Yeah. Third,
Speaking of
yeah.
holiday show,
Yeah.
people were so upset that you guys were not at the last one.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know, right?
Um,
Like, upset.
I know. I mean, and the thing is, we love it, and like,
Well, yeah, of
Mhm.
course.
but we felt that it was time to like switch it up a little bit, and having the Menzingers as like that core band, like it originally was their idea to begin with, and like giving other bands opportunity to have that like spot, and even I know they always try to like have local bands play it, but even having bands like from Philly come up and play, and just
Yeah.
having it just have a different feel, because really the lineup hadn't changed for like 4 years.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And just having it be different, and it gave us the opportunity to play in Scranton for the 10-year anniversary show, because
Yeah.
that
And that was
impacted
huge.
it.
That went really well.
It was awesome. It was pretty crazy to get to do that. But it just would have been so close. Like that was in October, and then
Mhm.
to have it be in December that we play again, and it's like I would play Scranton all the time if it made sense, but it's attendance to shows sometimes. If you play, if they'll be like, I already saw him in October. It's not always easy to get out and spend the money and go, and but again, giving other people the opportunity to just like do that, and then we were able to start kind of our own tradition in Philly with our festival that we curated called Otherly Love,
Mhm.
and having that be like a celebration of bands that we love, and like having both exist. So they're both things that like raise money for either the local arts, which is what the holiday show does,
Right.
and then we raise money for a charity in like every year we want to raise money for a charity in Philadelphia, because as much as Scranton is our home, like Ben lives in Philly, I lived in Philly for 5 years. It's also it's a place where we grew up playing like the majority of our shows too. Like once we
Mhm.
started playing out of the area, you played in Philly, like, and that was so crazy, like playing house shows in Philly, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of another way to give back to another city that was so formative to like who we are as a band.
One thing too, the people who were complaining were those who like either didn't know what you were playing in October or just chose not to go see them,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
decided to bitch about you not playing in December. Like,
Well,
But
yeah,
I mean, the show
the-
was still packed.
Yeah.
And it still was just as crazy.
Yeah, which is great, like it should be. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know, because even like so much of my family, like the holiday show is like the one show that they'd go to
Yeah,
a year,
yeah, right.
where they'd actually get to see us, because getting even my mom and dad to drive past music is tough.
there's that line.
So-
There's that line.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but they did get to go to the 10-year show, which was really cool. I got to thank my mom for forcing me to stick with piano when I wanted to quit so desperately.
I get mad at my mom, joking. She wanted me to play the banjo when I was younger. I'm like, I'm not playing the banjo. First of all, it's the banjo. It's not a guitar. Like,
Right.
It is, but it's like, whatever. And I was just in sports. Like, I want to play sports. And then now that I'm older, I said, you made me take showers when I didn't want to, and baths, and maybe go to bed when I didn't want to. You couldn't make me play the guitar?
Right?
That's a joke. But, 'cause I love music. I wish I could play something, but I just...
Yeah, never too late. I started taking
I
piano
know,
lessons
I
again.
know.
Our guitar player, Collins' mom is actually a piano teacher, so I started going back to her for piano lessons.
Oh, nice.
Hadn't been in like almost 10 years, but I was like, I want to get back to like learning how to play. Because what I play in Tiger's Jaw is essentially a rhythm guitar, but with a keyboard. Like it's more like it fills it sonically, and it's truly not that complicated. It's just really chords, which for me is perfect, like helps me be able to sing and play at the same time. And I mean, like, I can play piano, but I just felt like I lost a little bit of like the percussive playing. Because even
Right.
like the Casio that I inherited when I joined the band, which we're on like, generation 5 of that because they die, because they're from like 1978 and they don't exist anymore really. It's just very like simple, but now I have a Nord which is semi-weighted, and like getting back into like playing, and I don't know, it's just fun to like, and even like I'm like learning guitar. That's like how I write my songs on guitar, but I don't play guitar, so that's been like a learning curve. And you could do it. I'm just saying, if I could do it, you could do it.
I'm sure I could, but I just...
Well, you know what? You could, as your son grows up,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll
work
take
with
lessons
him.
together. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, exactly.
Think of
Make it
how
a
fun that'd
father-son
be.
bonding thing,
Yeah, first is karate. We're going to do karate first.
I think I bought it. Like most teenagers, you buy an acoustic guitar and then it sits in the corner. And then
I bought an acoustic
sits-
guitar in 2006 from my roommate who used to work at Galucci Music. And I still have it. It probably doesn't even sound good at all, but
right.
My first guitar was from Sam's Club. My mom got it in the 8th
Same.
grade for Christmas. It's called a First Act guitar. But like I too never, like I didn't actually start learning how to play guitar until like literally in the last like 4 years.
See, I gave it to my little brother so that it could sit in the corner of his room and collect dust.
Yeah,
So
throughout.
it just passes.
That's a
on
nice
until
hand-me-down.
eventually- Yeah, exactly. And at some point it'll be vintage. Maybe it'll be worth something, especially because it's never been played. So
There you
know.
go.
I think I did start learning how to play Landslide though. Was when I first started learning to play.
Oh, okay.
That's really cool.
And I just got that. That's it. It was like the very first part of that, and that was it.
So we have the Highway 81 show coming up. By the way, happy 8th anniversary to Highway 81 Revisited. Unlike all the other local media that wants to see all the independent guys get crushed, I love the independent guys, and I think it's great what Lolo's done over the years. So you guys have been, you've done stuff with Highway 81
Yeah.
before and everything like that. So it's cool that you guys still, will do those kind of shows and support
Oh,
them because
yeah.
people reach certain levels, and they're like, yeah, I don't need to do that anymore. But it's cool that you guys are still doing a
No, we're-
hometown show.
Yeah, we're stoked to do it. It was really fun for me because I drew the flyer and I got to like rethink their logo, and I went like pretty like Twin Peaks / Game of Thrones with it. So if they want to use it, you could have it. You want to switch up your logo? The logo is great in itself. I think I never like looked at it until we were like I was working on the flyer, and then I was like, oh, this is really smart. Like it's a shield,
Yeah.
the 81 sign.
Mhm.
So
I think that was a Brian Langan design originally.
that makes sense. That guy's a genius.
he would think of an animal with a sword and shield immediately.
Yeah.
You see his stuff on the Family Animals album? It's incredible.
I haven't, but
Oh, you should
I will check it out.
He
Yeah,
did
he's
this
always
incredible
been
like
such a good
gatefold
illustrator.
artwork and
Yeah.
stuff with. Oh man, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean that's someone like even like just anyone from the Swims like those are bands we looked up to. So
Yeah.
it's so crazy. Like it's still very cool.
Well, we'll have his brother on
Brother,
in a couple
yeah.
weeks. Connor Langan has a new
Oh, cool.
has a new project, so we're gonna have him on the show in a couple weeks. We
I
just
didn't realize
premiered
that
his
they were
new song.
brothers.
Yeah.
Connor is like the young, like it reminds me of my dynamic with my brothers. They're like 10 and 11 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's a similar thing with Connor and Brian.
Yeah, definitely.
But they have similar interests, unlike one of my brothers loves Christmas all year round. That's not me.
I hate Christmas.
My other brother coaches track. He's very good at it.
Hmm.
Western Wayne, they're doing hella good. Go Justin, go Wildcats.
I think we had another Western. Oh, Nate Williams said he went to Western Wayne as well. Any other questions or comments or anything like that? I guess people didn't read the beginning part where it said we're starting in a minute. They're like, "Where's the video?" I'm like, read. Dan asks any band influences. Velocity Girls, Small Factory, Lemonheads, Weezer. I don't know if those are is
Okay.
that questions or is that are you
I
just
mean-
yelling band names? I don't know what I don't know what that means.
I mean, I could see Lemonheads, obviously.
Are you influenced by any of those bands?
I mean, those bands specifically, I listen to, I feel like for me, Land of Talk, David Bazan, I know for Ben, is huge. Like, Paramore is my favorite band. I have a Paramore tattoo. I'm trying to, I mean, I love the Lemonheads. Fleetwood Mac, for sure. We do love Weezer. Ben, I think, could play any Weezer song, like you and any Blink-182, any song really, though. He's like one of those guys.
Yeah,
That's all I got for now.
fair enough.
Those were good assumptions, though. I mean,
Yeah,
people
that's-
used to say that we reminded them of the Get Up Kids. I think too because like having a keyboard in the band.
Oh,
but
okay, yeah.
at the time when people were saying that, like no one listened to the Get Up Kids. Like
Yeah.
now, after that, I had gotten into them, and like can understand. But it is kind of crazy to like sound relative to another band and not really have ever gotten into them. I mean, people used to say like Zoloft the Rock and Roll Destroyer. We sounded like that was another band from like Doylestown area.
Oh, okay. But yeah, you've never heard them or whatever, so you couldn't really be influenced by
Yeah,
them.
I mean, like again, I like that band, but I didn't write any of the Tiger's Jaw songs, so my interests weren't really like necessarily influencing
Right.
the core songwriting. But I know like older Tiger's Jaw, like the Microphones, anything Phil Elverum did was seriously influential. And again, the Swims, OK Patty, those local bands.
Yeah, they were big on the Menzingers too. I think were very
Yeah.
highly influenced by those guys and stuff too.
I think if you were part, like you couldn't not just like be in awe of like
Right.
these older kids like being in bands and it being so cool, like having stuff out on Prison Jazz or like Summer Steps and yeah.
I remember the first time that I understood that like local music was cool and like a thing, you know, because I think you grow up and you're like, oh, bands are like things that are far away, and you know, you buy the records and you listen to them, and maybe you see them on tour or whatever, but you don't really understand that like music's being made in your hometown. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was Felix Sarko, and they were around that same time of the Swims and all those guys. And they had just such a weird, different, completely out there sound that was so different from everything else. I was like, I'm going to follow these guys around everywhere. So I went to like every show that they went to. So
Yeah.
I definitely
I
understand
remember
that.
in the early days of Motionless in White, I went to like a million shows. I mean, they were one of the only bands that ever played Hamlin. So, but yeah, it's cool to like to be influenced just by bands playing in your area and being like, I just want to do that. Like, I remember Ben saying like, when Tiger's Jaw started, their only goal was to like have an album out on Prison Jazz, and then like that happened, and it was just like, holy shit! Like, what's the net? Like, what do we do
Right, what do you do now?
But yeah,
Now there's a tour for you, Tiger's Jaw and Motionless in White.
Oh, man.
Now that would be interesting, especially
would
the
be
direction they've
interesting.
got.
yeah, I think it's sick.
That'd be cool.
Maybe not like a genre of music that I actively listen to, but I think
Sure.
it's awesome. They're another band like from around here that just is doing
Yeah.
super well.
And most people don't even know they're from around here, you know? Like,
They're from
your
Pittston,
average
right?
person, you know, would
Yeah.
have no idea that they're from this area at
Yeah, I
all.
used to have one of their first shirts was like a spray painted like side print shirt, and my mom was like, "What does that say?" And I'm like, "Motionless in white." But yeah, it's cool.
Scott's in the comments. So Scott shot the Ritz Theater show for us.
Yeah.
It was a 10th anniversary show. Was it as nostalgic for you to play those songs as it was for the people who maybe grew up with your music, who were there to check that out?
Yeah, like I said, like we do play stuff from self-titled. Like we've never really stopped, but to play the whole record from front to back and seeing how important it is to other people when it literally is something that changed my entire life, like that's crazy. I drew the original artwork. I drew the heart in my sophomore year art class, and like screen printed and just like people have that tattooed on them. It's just
Yeah.
like, it was crazy nostalgic. It was very like, it just felt special to be in Scranton and playing these songs and having it be like a celebration of it. Because, you know, so many bands are doing like, oh, we're going to play this album all the way through, which like is something that I'm stoked on a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think
But
that's awesome.
you don't want it to feel like you're just doing it because everyone's doing it. Like we wanted it to just be like a celebration of like how important that record is to us. Because it's not Tiger Jaw's first record. It's the second record.
Right.
But it really is the one that like changed our lives and still is like impacting like people getting into us, but like hearing maybe like I Saw Water or like Plane versus Tank like as the first song they've heard, which, hey, those recordings now, like it's just so funny now, like the more you learn about music and like the longer you're being a band, like you know, your skill level, I mean, for Ben and Adam, like their voices are different now than they were when they were 16, 17 when we
Right.
recorded that. But, you know, so it's cool to me that like even like with the way that record sounds, which isn't how our newer stuff really sounds, people still have been getting into our band because of that, and then like understanding our growth as a band. Because, you know, people can complain about your sound changing. I think that's something that a lot of people can
Yep.
get bummed on, but I feel like for us, it just feels like something that we couldn't have stopped. It was just like a natural progression as to into where we are now, and like, you know, the sound is different maybe, but it's still like the same core feeling. So it's cool it was really cool to like touch back on like, even I found my planner from junior year and like looking through and figuring out the exact dates of like when we had recording, like what weekends, like my mom would like drive me down to Pittston or whatever. Like, it's just so crazy, like how different life was then to now, but how much it still is like this super important thing in my life, and like the lives of strangers or people that grew up from around here, and maybe like that means something to them, like that we're a band from Scranton, and like
Right.
that's so cool to me. I don't know. I get stoked that like I went to high school with Greg from the Menzingers still. That's funny.
Do you have speaking of which, do you have advice for those like bands that are up and coming now that want to reach the level of success that you guys have and those bands? Do you have any advice for them for the next step that they want to take?
I think just trying to really build your scene and support your scene is like a way to like begin. Playing as many shows as you can and making positive relationships with venues, or like finding a friend whose mom or dad will let you throw shows in their basement, or like anything like that, and then making friends with other bands, like, because I feel like without having the support of all of the bands around us that were trying to do the same thing, which was just like have fun and make music and do it as much as we could, it might not have gotten to like where we are now. And yeah, I think not being afraid to like put yourself out there, to email a booking agent or something, that like like those types of things, that didn't happen for us for like, you know, the first chunk of our band, but that was something huge for us, like finding a booking agent that was actually Title Fight's booking agent that gave us a chance too. And it's just like making those positive connections, embracing networking, and just not giving up. I don't know, like doing it as much as you can. Like even like Tigers Jaw used to play shows, but if I had a softball game, I would be like, just play anyway. You know?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So what's next for you guys? You talked about the new album that you guys are starting work on.
We're gonna record in July, or well, late July into August, and then the fall is exciting. I can't talk about it yet, but it's very relevant to our conversation.
Okay.
That's a big hint. If you figure that out, you're pretty good. And then, yeah, after that, I mean, the thing that sucks about making a record is that it takes so much time. Like, you record it in August, like, it won't come out till next year. But there's so many parts of that, like, I'll have to do the artwork and just figuring out the next step in that way. So, yeah, I mean, we've got shit to do. So.
Cool. Anything else you wanted to throw in there?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you here next Thursday. We already have the next couple weeks scheduled, like actually in stone scheduled.
Real quick though, tomorrow I think it's almost sold out. So if you didn't get your ticket yet,
You
to the
really
show at
should.
Karl Hall for the Highway 81 anniversary party, get
You
it
can get
now.
tickets at tigersjaw.com.
Yeah, get them now because it's going to be sold out. So
Yeah, don't be that guy who like shows up and then expects to get in to a show that's that like this, because it's going to be sold out by the time you get there. So
Yeah.
make sure that you buy your tickets. in
if it's
advance.
not already, it might be already. But who knows?
It might be. But thank you all for tuning in. And next week we'll be here with Alma Mater to talk about their new
Sweet.
album. Good up and coming Scranton band. So
I will check them out.
You
They're great.
you never know when that next band from here is going to blow up. So make sure you tune in for that. I think they're going to play some acoustic songs as well. So it should be a good time.
Really good.
We got a last minute. Same guy, Dan. Are there any sounds you've contemplated jumping into, little like shoegaze pop or anything that you think would be maybe too risky for the band to get into, or you're not really like kind
No,
of
that's
held
a
down
good
by
that's
those
a good
limits?
question. I don't think it would ever be something that like anyone would be like that's too far. But
Okay.
one of my favorite bands and influence is definitely The Cure. They're one of my absolute favorite bands of all time, and I think there's definitely a fine line of how much like chorus pedal you should put on. Like at least for us, like I mean, I've found myself writing a lot and then being like, oh shit, this is actually just like a Cure song. But yeah, I think of music that I like too. Like I'm also just a fan of like pop music or dance music. I love like Tame Impala, like a really good bass line that you could like dance to. So I think that like nothing's really off limits. The songs that we have now are definitely like they're definitely Tigers Jaw songs, but it's every record we do is definitely gonna be a little bit different. We're not really going shoegaze, sorry. It just didn't really pan out that way, but hey, you never know. Record 7. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We'll have a good night, and we'll see you at the show on Friday, and then we'll be back here next Thursday.
And thank you, Beer Boys and V Spot and Cool
Yes.
Creative, and of course you.
No, thanks for having me. That hour went by so fast. I was
It did.
so
It
nervous
Always
at
does.
first.
Always does.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you guys.
Have a good night.